Welcome to the Seer Show. Join us as we dive into the dynamic world of health, wellness, mindset, and fitness with the unparalleled guidance of lifelong knowledge seekers, Sifu Rafael and Nikki Gangemi. Sifu and Nikki will unlock groundbreaking insights with extraordinary guests from around the globe. You'll get the latest holistic approaches to well-being with a sharp focus on the powerful connection between mind, body, and soul. Get ready to take the leap. It's time to embrace a brighter and healthier future with us at the Seer Show.
5, 4,
Good morning.
Good morning, Nikki. How are you this fabulous day?
I am excellent. How are you doing, Scott?
Fabulous. I'll get better, though.
You will. We're always getting better and better every day. If you haven't noticed, Sifu did not get a new haircut. Scott is stepping in to co-host with me this morning, and we're very excited to have him here today. Thank you so much, Scott.
Oh, my pleasure. It's an honor. I love working with you, Nikki. You're awesome.
I know. It's a lot of fun. And we have two great guests this morning, and we have a fabulous topic. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them on, and we're going to get this party started. We've got, Dr. Brigitte in the house, and we have Renee in the house. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Hello, thank you so much. It's truly a pleasure to be here today.
Absolutely. We're excited, and we had the opportunity to chit chat for a few minutes before, but we're going to dive right in. So we've got a big topic today. We have the truth about identity, visibility, and leadership. So I'm going to start by asking you, which one of those words is speaking to you the most right now? And you want to share your first thoughts of this conversation. Who'd like to take us away?
When I think about those three, a lot of times we think about them in very separate lanes, like identity, visibility, and leadership, but they're actually very connected. When you think about your identity, it's your who you are and who you choose to show up in that moment, who you choose to show up in rooms. And, sometimes that visibility piece is, who do people think you are when you show up in those rooms? And I think about that leadership piece is, what's the impact that we're making? And so I see them all tying together very nicely and connecting with each other.
Yeah, I love that. It's a great point.
Yeah, and I would like to add to that. I think that the three of them are equally important. I focus very much on identity first, because visibility without identity is noise, right? And just noise out there. And then presence without visibility is invisibility. There's a lot of leaders that are present, but not really visible. And what most leaders struggle with is that they have mastered the performance, but not expression. And expression comes from identity, from clarity. So true leadership presence is when who you are internally is fully congruent with how you show up externally. And it's not about being louder, being the loudest in the room. It's about being unmistakable. And when your identity is clear, when you go in introspection, your identity is clear, your presence also becomes undeniable. So you don't have to be the loudest to be seen. It's when you are clear. You don't have to push for influence then. It just happens as a so-called byproduct.
Yes, I love that.
Greatly profound very early.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as you were talking, Bridget, it made me think of the word courage, that it takes courage to be who you are and show up in that way unapologetically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it has a lot to do with authenticity, yeah, and authentic visibility. But what does it look like on the top level, whether you are a C-level executive or you are a founder, visionary? Authenticity at that level is not emotional exposure. We are not in a reality show. It's strategic alignment. It's the ability to express your truth in a way that is both here deeply human, because you're still a human being, but at the same time you're highly effective. So for me, authentic visibility is subtle. You were talking about, not the loudest. You don't need to be the loudest out there to make this noise. Yeah, it's subtle, but through the subtleness, it's also powerful. And then, of course, unmistakably you, because you're authentic. You're showing your true essence. So it doesn't scream. It resonates, and that builds trust, credibility, and also then long-term influence.
It bubbles up in me the thought of how you do anything is how you do everything. How you are the same, with people, without people. I teach a lot on integrity. Integrity comes from the word integer, one, wholeness, right? So the fact is, again, being consistent, right? People, it's, Nikki and I were talking about this before you two came on. When somebody asks me, how am I doing? I say, fabulous, and I'll get better. I say that every time. Why do I say it every time? Because it's an immediate state change. It's immediate conversation opener. The next question is, well, what's better than fabulous? So all of a sudden you're into a different thing. Now, I do that every time. I've done it for years. And so to your point on authenticity, be who you are, right? I mean, you've got to do this on a consistent basis. And I would agree that if you don't understand your identity, the other stuff does get to be challenging. Because you made me think of, I went with my son and my bonus grandson last night to a baseball game, high school baseball game. And the team's colors were black and gray. And this one kid had pink batting gloves. You don't think he was trying to create some identity? To be so far out there compared to the norm? Now, that's a high school baseball player. Think about what we do in business, right? Or what some people do in business.
That's definitely a statement for sure. And it just to tap onto that point, Scott, when you think about it's almost that internal shift, because there are rules. When we enter a workplace, we either learn certain behaviors of who we should be or who we should not be when we go into rooms, either because of a bad moment. And we use that as a starting point, and we use that as a point of reference. And we're looking for information to validate the fact that, okay, this is not safe for me to be who I am in this room. Because we can say, we tell people, hey, we want you to be yourself and show up authentically. But sometimes that environment does not say to that person, it's safe for you to be who you are. And so there's that hesitancy, and you have to kind of scan the environment and saying, hey, does this align with who I am? And when I recognize that safety, then that's when that internal shift comes. And now I can, in each moment, start to become more and more of who I am. But honestly, when I walk into a room, the environment, the energy is going to give me that indication of who I need to be in that moment.
Interesting.
I think you bring out an interesting point there, and I would agree with you. That being said, let me play contrarian for a second. Is it a matter of adjusting to the room, or is it a matter of being yourself and letting the room adjust to you?
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, I think it could be yes and.
Yeah, and it's. I think we are here in this frame of reference of authenticity versus conformity. Many leaders have built incredible careers because they conform, they adapt, they perform through adapting and conforming, but often they shrink then parts of themselves. And that's not supposed to be. You're going to lose your authenticity. And that's where this invisibility comes in. It's not a visibility problem. It's an identity misalignment, because you're losing parts of your identity and you're not aligned anymore as a person behind that role. And once you reconnect with that, be in alignment who you truly are and allow that to be seen, you're stretching boundaries. You allow for innovation in that company, and you allow others to do the same. So I also often speak about identity before branding. And that's crucial, because branding without identity is just decoration. There is no meaning attached to it. It doesn't go deep. What does it really mean? What should this identity really represent? And that's where we go deep. It's like with companies, they create logos, they create colors, they create names, but what does it really mean? And then what does it make other people feel? Because then other people don't feel, it doesn't resonate. It's not on a visceral level. So what I do here is different. I develop the identity behind that visibility. So I built the foundation upon which influence can actually then exist.
And Dr. Bridget, when you mentioned the identity, dealing with that first, it reminds me of thinking about our unique DNA. We each have a unique blueprint that is uniquely us. And there's things that we bring from our past, our present. So each moment is giving us an opportunity to define who we are, who we're becoming in that moment. It almost is like a conscious part, because there are those messages in our mind that say, this is who you're not. Oh, you're not this person. Or you can't do this. And so it's being conscious of saying, this is who I am and this is what I can do. It's not using that information to hold you back, but it's using that information to propel you forward and elevate you in those moments where you can show up as authentic, because it's not about collecting, more skills or collecting more credentials. Those are important, but it's not the thing that we lead with, because it has to be who we are instinctively and internally, because if we don't, then none of that is sustainable.
Exactly, Renee. And that's often a question leaders ask themselves silently. Who am I beyond that role? And what is the impact I truly want to create? Because that's the missing piece in leadership development today. And the market focuses on outside elements such as, communication, presence, reputation. But very few, as you say, Renee, address the core question: who is the leader behind the role, and how is that translated into influence, translated into identity? Because there is visible leaders without substance. It's the branding, the decoration, right? When there is no substance. Or there is highly capable leaders who remain unseen. So we need to integrate both that substance, the identity, and then the visibility. It's not just showing up, but the identity they are showing from.
Right. And this is a question for all of you. When someone does start really showing up as themselves in that authenticity and integrity that we talked about, what do you notice begins to change in how they think or speak or show up?
I would say that the energy, you noticed, it's almost like you could see a light bulb or a different presence that's led with. It's an internal confidence that leads to this energy that is almost, in a sense, defining or redefining who they are. There's clarity of voice. there's clarity, and there's confidence in how they're showing up. That's what I notice.
Yeah.
For me too, it's kind of the that presence, or that executives have as a presence, as this remarkable ability to command the room, not just through the words, but through the energy that they bring along. It's just they are radiating. It's a combination of confidence, and then also the authenticity. Through that authenticity, they really live it. And they're passionate about that. And also, then of course, this interpersonal skills. They have the empathy, also maybe compassion, right? Really making this lasting impression, fostering also genuine connections, and they exude kind of sense of authority, but in a trustworthy way, I would say, and that captivates those around you. It's the people, they want to follow you. I had such a boss when I was a very, very young girl when I started flying for an airline. It was just, you walk extra mile because they have a vision. You trust their vision. You follow their lead. You want to listen, and that's what it is. You do that.
It's interesting, in a lot of my training and a lot of the things that I suggest is I use the word saunter. And as soon as you use that word, it automatically starts to get people to question to understand, right? I don't think it's about, well, I know it's not about ego or arrogance, but I do believe it's about a quiet confidence. And I think that's what saunter, at least the way I share it in the way I intend it, is it is a quiet confidence. You know who you are, or the individual knows who they are. They come into that room having a true understanding. They're a contender, not a pretender, right? They're actually there to add to the experience for all. And so you saunter into the room. You know, it's a quiet confidence. It's a, hey, fly it at me. Somebody was asking the other end, as we were talking a little bit about earlier, somebody fired an objection at me. You know, I've got this objection. Can you handle it? And I said, yeah. And boom, and I addressed it. And they go, how'd you do that? I said, that's probably only the 10,000th time I've heard that objection, right? So there is an advantage to be more mature. That's code word for older. So the fact is, there's an advantage to having experience. And I think that's one of the things that we've lost in today's society is knowledge, expertise, experience, wisdom is being significantly discounted by younger generations, and nobody's told them to stop it. Sorry, I didn't like some of the things that the generations before me shared with me either. But as I got more mature, I realized, they were probably right? As we get more experience, as we spend more time and have more interactions in different situations, we become broader naturally. And it's amazing how some of that wisdom that's been passed down turns from, oh, you're a pain in my butt, to, wow, that was really wise. And it's the same piece of information. The piece of information didn't change. The perception of the piece of information changes over time.
Yeah, that's a good point. As you were all talking, it made me think about some of the challenges that maybe you have noticed when someone does really try to step into the identity of a leader, let's just say. And I'll just, so you have some context, one challenge I noticed, and I'll share about myself, is, going from the identity of being an elementary school teacher. I did that for 15 years. And then stepping into the identity of an entrepreneur and building a business. And I know that along the way, whenever I would take into account what people have told me, you need to lead the conversation, you need to do this, I would do it, and then I would get like a kickback from people. You know, like they would say, "Oh, wow, you're like trying to control the room," and then it would make me go back to, you know, kind of just shrinking a little bit. So, what have you noticed about that? People have tried to change their identity, maybe level up, step into something new, and then challenges they might have encountered.
I mean, I can talk about the challenges leaders face and why they would then ask for someone who helps them with these inflection points. So I think most leaders don't struggle with the competence. They struggle with this alignment I've talked about before, because they have built extraordinary careers or are on the path, but at some point, there is a question that comes up: is this still me? And they have time to suddenly reflect, you know, they are in this rat race. But then there comes a time where they do so, yeah, because externally everything works, internally they somehow feel undefined, misaligned, empty, and very often add to this isolation there is at the top they have, because they have fewer honest conversations, fewer people who truly challenge them or dare to challenge them or help them to reflect. And so basically they have built highly successful careers, but still feel strategically alone. And there is also, they're often also visible in their role, but not influential in a broader narrative that they are missing as a person, not in that role. So there is this gap. Yeah. And so what they truly searching for is the meaning and the legacy. Yeah. Very often on the top after years or decades of performance. And then this focus shifts and they ask themselves the question of identity: what do I stand for? What impact do I leave behind? And what remains is that's the next, you know, when they exit, for example, what remains when the road is gone? Who they are when they suddenly either lose a job, you know, you don't know with the macroeconomic, political and situation that is going on worldwide, globally. It has an impact, and they're gonna ask themselves that question. So it's at these inflection points of a new role, transitioning into C-suite or shifting from corporate very often into entrepreneurship, or in a moment of crisis, or suddenly clarity, and then something doesn't work as it worked before. So and they're asking this question, and then this shift happens, and they want to have answers to that, and then they are ready to take that on, to go deep into their identity. That's what I've experienced.
I think just to tap onto a lot of what you said, is that legacy is such an important piece of it. When we understand our why, our purpose, sometimes I would hear from leaders, "Oh, I want to be a manager, I want to be a director," and it's the title, but why? What's the legacy, or what do you want to bring to that? And if there's not clarity of what that looks like, you can gather all of the skills, you can, get more degrees, but if you're not aligned with how you see yourself and what that legacy looks like at that, you'll struggle a bit. And so that's why I think that identity is a piece of it. But then that legacy of learning from every single person. And Nikki, to your point, we can't take on everything, because what works for you is not going to work for me, but it's information that helps me to learn. And so all of the pieces that I'm learning from everyone I'm exposed to, it's upon me to take that and say, okay, what are those things that would work for me? And how do I make that a part of my unique DNA and make that part of my legacy? As a leader, what you leave behind is, how many people have I elevated? How many people have I helped grow? Not about the impact of just making things happen, but how did you make people feel? Because the people are going to be a representation. They're going to be an extension of what you did.
Yeah, those are powerful questions to ask yourself.
And it's not only for leaders per se, but for the organizations in general, because it also has a direct impact on the business outcomes. Yeah? And organizations are realizing that leadership identity is not just such a soft topic. It's a strategic lever nowadays. I mean, there are studies out there, just one that is showing this that there is a shift, yeah, that up to 45% of a company's reputation is directly linked to the CEO. And see when something is happening in the C-level, in the C-suite, yeah, that this directly affects the reputation of the overall corporation. And also that people, the general population, 80% of people trust companies more when leaders are visible. So, and this is also where we need to close the gap. Most organizations invest in this visibility, but not in the identity behind it. Yeah.
Right.
And they manage reputation instead of developing from the inside out. And that's where the future is. It always starts with identity. From my perspective.
Yeah. Thank you. What are your thoughts, Scott?
Well, I think it's fascinating. Before we started the conversation, I wasn't necessarily thinking about the order of the three words. But you won me over. I mean, well, no, I mean, I'll say you only think about what you think about until you think about something different, right? Thank you, Captain Obvious. So, but it makes so much sense. And I was thinking about, as an example, when I made the decision to become a professional speaker full time, one of the first things I did is I wrote my mission statement. Over 25 years ago, that mission statement has not changed to this day. I have not accomplished all of it. I have accomplished a lot of it, but not near enough of it. And so which is why I'm continuing to pursue it. But that's actually the vision, and that piece is as much identity as anything else. It now becomes the target, the focus of what actions you take. And so slightly different as an entrepreneur versus a corporate with a C-suite and things like that. But there's so many brilliant points being shared here that I think that when you put them together and you really understand that not only does the company have to have an identity, but the leadership in that company has to have an identity. And I have my own podcast as well, and I interviewed the CEO of a technology company last week. And one of the things that was so amazing in the conversation is his identity going forward is the fourth stakeholder. I said, the fourth stakeholder, I haven't really heard of the term or the description that way. The first is your investors. The second is your employees. The third is your customers. There are three stakeholders we all have to act toward. And I said, what's the fourth? And he said, the most important stakeholder, humanity. And it just was like, wow, right? Yeah. And so again, I think that's where this identity piece comes in. And then when we have that, it's another thing I share a fair amount in my trainings is that the axiom of if you build it, they will come only works if they know you built it. So you can't just, put that identity together. They have to know your identity. They have to know who you are. That actually becomes your social responsibility, right? That I act this way. And that goes back to how you do anything is how you do everything. It's consistency. It's be who you are. Stop trying to be. And I think we live in a world where a lot of people are trying to be who they're not. They're trying to be who somebody else is. And that then creates a myriad of issues because, quite frankly, they got to remember who they're supposed to be.
Right.
As opposed to just being, right?
Yeah.
I mean, does that make any sense? Did anything that I say there make any sense?
Of course, it made sense. It brought me back to that word courage. When you had said that there's a lot of people who are not. They're trying to be what other people want them to be or who they think they should be. And I think a lot of that comes back down to that whole concept of the tribe, that we want to be a part of the tribe. And when we veer away, that's risky. That's not safe. Like Renee was talking about safety earlier in the conversation. So having the courage to be yourself and knowing that, you will always have your tribe, with 8+ billion people on the planet. We're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, right? You're always going to have your people that love and support and accept you.
Yeah. And I also think, because you mentioned safe, Nikki, I think the only safety where you really feel safe is resting in yourself. And comes back to identity again and being a leader, Scott. Yeah? When a leader is clear of who he or she is, who they are, their communication sharpens because it's really coming from their true essence. Then your decisions align because you make the decision based on your value set that you live and breathe every day, and then also you share as a team, with your company within the organization. Then your presence strengthens. You have a completely different presence in your room, and then also, based on that, your credibility deepens. So these are, you're becoming non-replaceable in that sense. And in this world where expertise is basically everywhere, everyone can give it. Your distinct identity in that regard becomes the differentiator. And that's how you attract the people to follow you, with you everywhere, like apostles. That's what we want to create.
I think I had this conversation yesterday with actually multiple times. I said, in a world of AI, where AI, there's a lot of unknowns for a lot of good reasons. I am pro AI. That being said, how do you AI proof yourself? It's differentiation, and you got to be what AI isn't, more human. The greatest attributes we have is that we're being human beings. We're not human doings, we're human beings. Be human, right? You've got to take this and move it, in my opinion. You've got to move that forward, and that's where your advantage comes. There's 8.5 billion people on the planet. AI is going to impact all of them. It's going to positively impact a portion and not positively impact a portion. So if you want to be the positively impacted side, work in collaboration with it as opposed to competition to it. Competition, there's a winner and a loser. And depending upon what sector you're competing, it might be pretty good. So you might want to do the things that it cannot do, or at least it cannot do at this point. That's empathy. That's compassion. That's truly listening. That's putting experience into play and life process. And so I think we live in a very interesting time because of all this.
We do.
Different times, and it's also exciting when you think about, AI. It's scary, but there's also so many things that you can embrace from it. And so when I think about our conversation, it keeps going back to identity. And identity is almost like the center of all of these pieces. It's an extension. And without that identity, we can't learn. We can't see ourselves in the future. Without that identity, it impacts how our visibility works. And so thinking about that as our core will help us to embrace technology without losing that human part of us. Scott, you said that so well, because sometimes human beings, but humans doing, that's a difference. And when we truly embrace who we are instinctively, regardless of how technology changes, if we understand our true identity, it's going to show up because that's the legacy that we're creating. We're very clear on what that looks like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the legacy.
Yeah, and I would like to add to that. It's so beautifully said, Renee. And at the end of the day, it's not positioning leaders. It's about architecting the identity that makes that positioning inevitable. Yeah. Defining their identity and also developing that leadership narrative that comes along with that. And through that, creating this strategic influence they have, and then building the authentic visibility around that. I think that is the key. It's really architecting that identity, developing. Yeah, I think that's the future. It's not anymore just marketing and content, what agencies sold in like in the past, LinkedIn posts, PR content, and all things like that, because it just produces visibility, it produces leaders, but without clear identity behind. And right now we are just managing that reputation I mentioned before. And we need to go into the development phase. And here we come back to what you said, Scott. It's the ordering. And we always start with the identity.
Yeah, that's one of the deepest layers of who we are, identity. So on that note, we're going to have a quick message, and then we're going to come right back. Stay tuned.
You followed the rules, tried the restrictions, counted the carbs, the steps, and the failures. You're not lazy, you're exhausted from doing it all without real change. What if the problem isn't you, but the plan? Sifu's Mind-Body Method is a 90-day transformation built on 7 unshakable pillars: mindset, movement, nutrition, hydration, fasting, journaling, and faith. This isn't another shortcut. It's your structure, your strength, your reset. You don't need harder, you need better. Ready to begin? Start today.
Speaking of identity, stepping into who you are. So I have a question for all of you, and that is, what has helped you personally to step more into your identity, your visibility, your leadership? And so if you could share just a few words of wisdom for maybe someone who is feeling challenged by that or hesitating, what has helped you?
I would say, so if I may start here, to open the floor, my own journey was anything but linear. For a long time, I also thought it was just completely flawed. I was all over the place. I had a very unconventional path and pivoting several times, starting like feeling I start from the beginning again, which was not. And yeah, so I moved through many identities, I could say like that. Yeah, from flight attendant, student, corporate leader, student again, corporate again, university professor, and eventually entrepreneur, and still teaching at on university level. So it might look like restless from the outside, but on the inside, I can say I was deeply searching for truth, for who I really am beneath the roles and the expectations. So what I can take away, so if there's people out there that go through different identities, different chapters in life that are seemingly unrelated, each chapter carries its own form of vulnerability and adds a layer of identity, a layer of your becoming. It's all right. You're always in the right place, and it's all part of your journey. It's just a question. And Scott talked about perspective before. And it's all about how you look at it. Where do you see the hidden gift in it? And how do you move forward with that? So yeah, I also come from this invisible part and pushing myself gently into visibility. And that's what I'm helping others now to do so too. Empowering authentic visibility. If that helps.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
I love that story, Dr. Bridget. And mine comes from legacy. And I was being known for getting things done, not for the leader that I saw myself or that I wanted to be. And that made me look inside and say, hey, what am I doing? Or what should I do differently? And it wasn't about doing more because I was the master at getting things done, but it was who I thought I wasn't that was keeping me from that. And that was the identity. I wanted to be seen as the leader with presence, but I didn't believe it. And so I had to work through some things. I had to figure out what was holding me back. What were those stories that I was telling myself? What was keeping me from walking into my authentic self? And that's the work that I do now, is unmuting your power, your voice. Many of us have this leader, that voice inside of us that wants to come out, but we silence it. We shrink because we're not sure how it plays in the room. And my work is to help leaders find that. And so when you show up in those rooms, you're not the loudest person, but your voice matches your value. You don't have to scream that. It was like what Scott said, when you saunter into that room, that quiet presence is enough. And that is your true identity. And so that's what's inspired my journey and the work that I do with clients today.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. What came to me as you both were sharing is the entrepreneurial definition of pivot. Mm-hmm. That is banging your head into a wall long enough to realize it hurts less if you don't. So that's the official definition of pivot. It's a very interesting thing. I'm in the midst of courting a new client, big client. Very blessed to have the opportunity. To which they came back and said, literally, I want to know every product you've sold over your entire career and what the price point was and how many of each you sold. Now, if you think about that, I'm not 25. I've been doing this for a while. But I said, if that's what they want to gain comfort, that's what I will provide. Mm-hmm. And it took a while to go through various companies, consulting projects, organizations, products, price points, effectiveness. And by the end, they did me such a favor, because what it made me realize, the end result of all that work, and it was pages and pages and pages of documentation. The end of all that work, when I completed it that night, I was watching our 75-pound black standard poodle run around in the backyard like a maniac. And I said to myself, how cool is it that I am going to accomplish more the rest of my life than I have accomplished to this point in my life? The value of taking and understanding all what you've accomplished. And oh, by the way, there were plenty of pivots in there. That's what made me think of that as well. There were plenty of times where I smashed my head into a wall, and you realize it's much nicer when you stop doing it. The fact is that if it's something I'm suggesting to those I work with from this point forward, was it quick? No. Did it take a long time? Yes. Was it enlightening? Oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. Because you get to go through it. Bridget, you made me think of this, is, all these different steps you took through. Well, each one of those steps was not a mistake. It was a learning experience. It was a development experience. It was going to the next level. It was, you found out what you liked and you found out what you didn't like. And so you could go through and now refine. Now, isn't it amazing that all of a sudden at some point when you, for me, I'll talk about me. I mean, in this sense, it's amazing to me that when I actually looked at that on paper, I went, holy cow, why would I ever doubt my intention to serve the greater good? And yet we still do those things, right? And then no matter how good we are or how much we do or whatever, we get those little points of, ooh, that doesn't feel good, right? Where somebody says no that you knew was going to say yes. And you go, oops. So I think that's this identity piece, right? Again, it's the quiet confidence. It's not an arrogance. It's not a whatever. It's a blessing. Okay, these are the things that happen. That's going to be one of my ongoing tools with my clients is I want you to do, in essence, a complete debrief of your career. And it's not a quick and not an easy task, but oh my goodness, what a valuable task.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What can you learn? Right. That's what I heard in what you said. Get the lesson. What can you learn? Embrace it all.
Yeah, and the lessons are redirections. It just gives you feedback and redirections of where to go. And it's also not a competition with others. It's looking at what you, Scott, what you so beautifully said. It's looking at what you have accomplished until now. And this quiet confidence to have that, I just love that. And then going forward.
Yeah.
Positive attitude. I can do this.
That's right. What a beautiful conversation this has been. Lots of golden nuggets for our audience. Well, what I'd like to do, since we're almost at the top of the hour, is any final thoughts that you want to share, and then take about 45 seconds to tell our audience how they can connect with you and anything you want to share about what you do. And we'll start with Renee, and then we'll go to Bridget, and then Scott. Renee, you're up.
This conversation has been impactful for me. You see me writing about so many different pieces. Identity is such an important piece. It weaves through your entire being, your career. Scott, what you shared about the debrief of your career, that is such a powerful tool, because there are many times where we don't recognize our own value and our worth, and we're waiting for someone to tell us and to share those things with. But unless you understand your true value and worth, no one else is going to do that for you. And so I loved that piece. What I would say is this conversation is so important as you think about what's important for you, what's next, taking that time to celebrate and acknowledge your accomplishments, acknowledge where you're coming from, because each day is an opportunity for us to define who we are in that moment. And we're moving towards becoming our best self. As long as we're living and breathing, we're growing, and embrace that identity and that opportunity. If you don't like who you are at this moment, figure out, what can I do differently? How can I embrace and I can lead into my authenticity? You can reach me at LinkedIn, Renee Jackson Smith. You can reach me also at soartowin.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at soartowin or Renee Jackson Smith. I would love to have a conversation. I love all things leadership. I love things identity, your energy. Reach out. Let's have a conversation.
Awesome. Thank you, Renee. Bridget, you're up next.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me. It was a beautiful conversation about identity, visibility, and leadership, and that goes right into my alley. I work with leaders and founders at this very specific point in their journey when success is no longer the question, but identity is. So my focus today and going forward is what I call higher self advisory for leaders and founders. and to develop the identity behind how leaders show up, how they are perceived by others in the world or by themselves, and then also the level of influence they create by doing so. Because I see again and again that all these extraordinary leaders have built these impressive careers and navigating this quiet gap between who they are. We talked about that, Scott, right? And how they are seen. So I'm closing that gap with my work. And yeah, giving them this confidential space through the private advisory or leadership circles where leaders can step out of this performance rat race into clarity, into introspection, where the clarity is coming. And to be, we talked about AI and humanizing brains, yeah, where they can be fully human and don't see it as a weakness, also at the C level, but as a source of power, of real power to move forward, where we translate this identity into distinctive visibility, influence in leadership, and also the legacy they want to leave behind sooner or later when they exit. So it's not about leading well, it's about becoming someone unmistakable in how you lead. And you can reach out to me via my website. It's BridgetBrands.com, or via LinkedIn. I think those who are watching, they see my LinkedIn handle. I'm very, very much engaging on LinkedIn, so you can find me there, and also on Instagram. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Dr. Brigitte. All right, my friend Scott, you're up next.
Well, I am an executive coach, a sales trainer, and international speaker. So I've been blessed to do a lot of different events and with that had great success in the offerings, but have also had great success in learning from some of the best of the best of the best. I've written checks to 19 mentors across my career. My statement at the start was the same to each one. Give me everything you got. My commitment is I won't keep it. I'll share it with my clients and my students and ultimately become an extension of you. So when you get me, you don't just get me. You get 19 more. It's not different personalities, by the way. It's the same personality, just using all 19. So the fact is, I love to work with people. I say it this way: if you have want to, you can learn the rest. Want to is the desire to succeed. The things around that success can be learned and put into place. And the happiest days of my life are when I get to see you have success and I get to smile.
Yes. Love that. And I love your sense of humor, Scott. Always infusing what you say with humor. I love that. And this is, so my final thoughts is just what a valuable conversation. If you know someone who could benefit from hearing some of the words that we shared today, please share the show. Just hit the share button and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. We talked about so many different things, and one of the biggest things that I've heard that could really help anybody is if you lead from a place of curiosity. Look at what can I learn? How can I grow? How can I lean into this and embrace it? You'll be so much better off in your life and in your career. And I'm Nikki Gangemi, and you can also connect with me on LinkedIn under my name, Nikki Gangemi, and my website is nikkigangemi.com. I work with high achievers and help them quiet the mental noise and help them step into the authentic identity, who they truly are, so they can show up in the way that's aligned with them. So I want to thank our guests, Renee and Bridget, for being on the show, Scott for stepping up as my co-host today.
Absolutely.
And yeah, thank you everybody for being here today.
Thanks
Have a
all.
wonderful day. Fabulous day.
Have a fabulous day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Wonderful day.